Okay. Good morning. Yesterday we discussed about derivation of belt tensions, ratio of belt tensions in flat belt drive. Before starting that topic, actually, I introduced how to resolve forces when it is acting at an angle. If you know the magnitude and direction, the force can be represented by a vector. And how to resolve this force which is acting at an angle theta? Uh, we can resolve that force into horizontal and vertical component. Look at the sketch I'm going to share with you now. Very slowly I am introducing this one without any ambiguity. You can understand this one. Belt. Ah. So look at the sketch here I shown. F is the force. It is acting at an angle theta that can be resolved into horizontal force and vertical force, or vertical component and horizontal component. So that forms a right angle triangle. If we apply Pythagoras theorem, so which I calculated for your reference, you see that this side f square, that is the hypotenuse square, is equal to f sin theta whole square plus f cos theta whole square. Finally, upon simplification, we are going to f is equal to f. That is the summation of square of these two forces, which is acting along opposite side and the adjacent side. Summation of that one should be equal to the resultant force. Okay, that way we can. And in various position, how to resolve the forces into horizontal component and vertical component I showed here in various position. So this you have to practice it. So now let us consider a small this one the patch of belt length for our analysis. In the next slide, we am going to share with you Here you see that this circle is representing a pulley. So this is the belt which is wrapped around the pulley. So you let us consider this side as the tension side and this side as the slack side. Okay, these are the tensions T1 and T2. And for our analysis, let us consider a small length of a belt that is A to B. This is the center of the pulley. So here angle here AOB is delta theta, delta theta, delta theta. So now here this is the normal force. N is the normal force. It is normal to this surface here, which I shown here. That means normal reaction between belt and the pulley, which is acting in the upward direction. Okay. And the motion is, this is arrow, this is important. This is direction of rotation is shown. Direction of rotation of the pulley. So the motion is opposed by the friction existing between the pulley and the belt. Okay. So this is the frictional force which is acting in this direction. That is mu n, where mu is coefficient of friction, mu n. And here from the point B, this is the tension side or tight side here. So here the tension is a little more than the tension which is acting in this direction here, this side, slack side. If the slack side tension is T, this tight side tension is T plus delta T. we don't know the value of delta t, how much it is. Okay, delta t is acting in this direction, t is acting in this direction. So these forces, tensions are nothing but forces. These are nothing but acting at an angle delta theta by 2. This is also is acting at an angle delta theta by 2. Now we had resolved it. So this one is t plus delta t into sine delta theta by 2. This is the downward force is t into sine delta theta by 2. And another component of the horizontal component of t is t into cos delta theta by 2. And horizontal component of t plus delta t is t plus delta t into cos delta theta by 2. Now yesterday I explained how to consider minus plus like that. Okay, so very simple. The forces which are acting in this direction, that is left side, you consider them, those forces are negative forces. The forces which are acting in the right direction, you can consider them as positive forces. Similarly, if the forces acting in the upward direction, positive. If they are acting in the downward direction, negative. There is any confusion, any ambiguity? I think no. Once again I tell you, the forces which are acting, look at the sketch, acting in this direction, that is left side, negative. Therefore minus, this one is minus mu n, this is minus t cos delta theta by 2. This one is positive force, therefore it is a plus t plus delta t cos theta delta theta by 2. If you add these forces, mu n t cos theta delta theta by 2 t, this one, that is equal to 0 according to the result. Summation of horizontal forces should be equal to 0. Sigma fh is equal to 0. Similarly, these forces are acting in the vertical direction, but it is in the downward direction. This is also in the downward direction. Only force which is acting in the upward is that is normal reaction. Okay, the next slide, you look at this one. I have taken some symbols here. T1 is the tension in the tight side of the belt. T2 is the tension in slack side of the belt. Theta is angle of lap of belt over the pulley. So in this, in the sketch which I have shown, it is theta is 180 degree or pi radians. So in mu is coefficient of friction between the belt and pulley. And for our analysis, let us consider a short length of belt AB subtending an angle delta theta at the center of the pulley. Okay, next, let n is equal to normal reaction between the element length of belt AB and pulley. So delta T is increase in tension in tight side than that of slack side. Therefore, T plus delta T is tension on the tight side of the belt element AB. And next one is, you see that resolving the forces in horizontal direction. Resolving the forces in horizontal direction, we have sigma Fh, summation of horizontal forces is equal to 0. So here plus mu n plus t cos theta delta t minus t I have taken. Okay, but here is, this one is minus mu n minus t cos theta cos delta theta by 2. This is plus t plus delta t cos theta 2. But the thing is, the entire equation you have to multiply it by minus 1. So then you get this equation. I see the previously you have to write minus mu n minus t cos theta cos delta theta by 2 plus t plus delta t into cos theta delta theta. That equation, if you multiply by the entire equation, if you multiply by minus 1, you get this equation, my dear students. Okay, there is no confusion at all. Okay, fine. So now upon simplification, so t cos theta cos delta theta by 2 minus this will be cancelled. The remaining part of this equation is mu n minus delta t cos delta theta by 2 is equal to 0. As delta theta is very small, you can consider cos delta theta by 2 is almost equal to 1. Upon substitution here, we are going to get mu n minus delta t is equal to 0, or delta t is equal to mu n, or n is equal to delta t by mu. This you call this equation as equation number 1. Similarly, now resolve the forces. Vertically. Therefore, sigma Fe is equal to 0. So this is the n is acting in the upward direction positive. So this one is a t sin delta theta by 2 is acting in the downward direction. Therefore, it is negative. T plus delta t into sin delta theta by 2 is acting in the downward direction. So it is negative. Total this is equal to 0. Therefore, we have n minus t into sin delta theta by 2 minus t sin delta theta by 2 and minus delta t into delta theta by 2. These are the small, this is a very small quantity. Delta t into delta theta can be cancelled. Okay. The next slide, you just follow here. Neglecting the product of small quantities, delta t into cos delta theta by 2. You can neglect it, and upon neglecting it, the remaining part is n minus t into sin delta theta by 2 minus t into sin delta theta by 2. Okay. Now delta theta is very small, therefore sin delta theta by 2 is almost equal to delta theta by 2. Now upon simplification here, we have n minus t is common here, minus t into delta theta by 2 plus delta theta by 2 is equal to this one. Delta theta by 2 is equal to delta theta. Now n minus t delta theta we have,
Hi.
therefore n is equal to t delta theta. Now upon substitution for the value of n, we have delta t by mu is equal to t delta theta. On integrating this equation ranging from T2 to T1, slack tension to tension side T1, this one delta T by T, that is equal to, you can integrate this one 0 to theta, mu into delta theta. Upon this one, integral calculus, so we get log e is equal log e into T1 minus T2, that is equal to mu theta. Mu is constant here, so only delta theta upon integration we get theta. So mu into theta, mu theta, and you can write this one in this form: T1 by T2 is equal to T1 by T2 is equal to e raised to mu theta. Is there any confusion here, my dear students? Any confusion? If you work out this one just for fun in your houses and practice this one, this derivation. Okay. Any confusion? Any confusion? No. Fine. Very good. Always Sneha is the first person to respond. What about others? Chandan. Okay, very good. Anusha, very good. So next, I am not in a hurry to complete your syllabus. I am comfortable. I can convince you, and I can achieve 100% result in my subject. Okay. Next one. I give 1 minute time, 1 minute chance to ask the questions. Okay, fine. Fine. And let me move to what is that? Yesterday I told the new topic: gear drives. Gear drives. Open the gear drives. So today the new topic is gear drives, you have some knowledge about the gears. There's no, all of you know what is a gear. It is a toothed wheel. Toothed wheel. On its circumference, uh, it has a teeth. Those teeth are sometimes parallel to the axis of rotation. Sometimes they are inclined to axis of rotation. Okay, and now we have different types of gears. I'm going to share with you. So these are the types of gears. We have spur gears and helical gears, bevel gears, worm gears, rack and pinion. So this worm gear, so it's a worm, the worm is there. Worm, worms. Huh? Okay. And next one is rack and pinion. So all this I'm going to show the sketches and I'll explain it very clearly. There's no ambiguity, no confusion at all. Okay. In the next slide, so this is the spur gear. You see that? This is the spur gear. So these are the teeth. These are the teeth. These are the teeth. You see that? Teeth. So here, those are two gears which are in contact is shown here in this sketch, in the contact. If this big gear, the larger gear is rotating, the motion transferred to or transmitted to the small gear. In this combination, the small gear is called pinion. Remember, small gear is called pinion. P-I-N-I-O-N, pinion. Okay, this is the spur gear. How do you identify spur gear? The teeth here, which you are seeing here, these are parallel to the axis of rotation. So this space is provided to rotating shaft to fix this spur gear and the rotating shaft. Okay, in your scooty, in your the bike, so this type of gear, the spur gear, or gearbox. Your vehicle gearbox here is having this one. Okay. Next one is, this is the helical gear. You see that how fine that image is, very clearly mentioned. These are the teeth. These are the teeth. Number of teeth are there and its circumference. Hmm? So this space is provided to fix this gear on the rotating shaft. Rotating shaft. You can say which one is a spur gear, which one is a helical gear. Okay. Similarly, this is the bevel gear. Bevel. So these are a conical shape gears, but full cone is not there. It is a truncated cone. The top portion of, if you cut the top portion of the cone away from the base, we get this truncated cone shape. So here, this is very, very important. So shaft is like this. Another shaft is here. So both the rotating shafts are intersecting. Both the shafts are intersecting. So that is the specialty of this gear. And see, these are the teeth around the circumference of the bevel gear. This is another combination is shown. Okay. So we know what is spur gear, helical gear, and bevel gear. So no doubt, I think. Okay. Next, you see that worm gear. Worm gear. It's very funny also. So here, this is the gear. This is spur gear. No doubt, it's a spur gear here. Okay. Here, this is the worm. This is the worm. If this gear is rotating like this is rotating on its own axis. This worm. Or if worm is rotating on its axis, this gear is rotating like this according to the direction of rotation of the worm. This is the worm. This is called worm. Okay. This is another sketch of the worm. Which is worm here? This part is the worm. This is the gear. Okay. Axis of rotation of the worm. This axis of rotation of this gear is perpendicular to your screen. Perpendicular to your screen. Okay. Next, the fifth one we have a rack and pinion. A rack and pinion. Very fantastic. You see that. So here, this is the rack. This is the rack part. This is the rack part. Suppose here is the gear, that is a small gear. This is called pinion. The motion is a transfer from the pinion to rack. A rack to pinion is also possible. Usually, pinion to rack. Okay. So now you imagine here is the rotating shaft, and this motion is given by electric motor to this pinion. So this starts rotating in the fixed position, so that this rack moves in this direction or in this direction according to the direction of rotation of the pinion. Okay, which is rack here? This part is the rack. This is also having teeth. You see that? You observe here. This is the teeth. Okay. Okay. Next, now I introduce gear trains. Gear trains. So first one is simple gear train, compound gear train, and reverted gear train, and planetary gear train, sun and planet gear train. Among these, the first 1 and 2 are important for you. First 1 and 2 are important for you. Okay. So this one is the simple gear train. You see that? So gear A, gear B, gear C. So 20T, 60T, 10T means gear A is having 20 teeth. These are the teeth. Gear is having 60 teeth. That's B. And the gear C is smaller in size. It is having 10 teeth. That's what. Okay. So now how it is working? See that. Now the number of gears in this train, how many? 3 gears are there. 3 gears. The odd number of gears are there. Odd. 3 is odd. So the direction of rotation of first gear and the last gear are in the same direction. It's very important. Direction of rotation of first gear. You can call it a driving gear. This is follower gear or output gear. Its direction of rotation compared to A and C. But if you compare these two, their direction of rotation, they are the same direction. Okay, that is speciality of this gear train. When gears are in odd number. Okay, so now let us have a this one. Have a look at this one. You see that? Where is the cursor? Once again, I see that. It's a simple gear train. And how to identify this was simple gear train? Very easy. This white part you are seeing now, this here. These are the shaft. On shaft, one gear is there. On one shaft, one gear is there. That is why it is called as simple gear train. Okay. So you see that another example of a simple gear train. So here how many gears are there? 2 gears are there. Their direction of rotation. This is rotating in this direction. This is rotating in this direction. So both are rotating in the opposite direction. Okay. So when the gears are in even number, their direction of rotation is in the opposite directions. Okay. this one also I show that. See that A and B gears are rotating in the opposite direction. Okay. This is sketch of that simple gear train. No, don't worry. So this next one we have compound gear trains. How to identify gear trains? So you look at the sketch. Look at the sketch. This is the one gear. It's running out of time. So another 10 minutes time I have. Okay, no problem. This is the one gear, and on the same shaft another gear is there. This is why this that is why this is called compound gear. This one is the output gear. This is the output gear. This is the output gear. See that. So how to identify compound gear on the same shaft? On the same shaft we have two gears. The compound gear is having contact with the this gear only here, output gear. So now show the animation of this one, how it is working. You see that? How? This is the our working of a compound gear train. So I would like to share one more this one compound gear train. So this is also here two gears are blue color, one gear, green color is another gear. They are mounted on the same shaft. Here is the output gear. This one is the output gear. So you see the animation of this one. Very clearly you can understand what is simple gear train, compound gear train. Even number of gears in the gear train, odd number of gears in the gear train. Once again, sitting at home, you can learn a lot more. You are comfortable. Okay. So next, another gear train is this one is very the number of compound gears are there. Here, this is the this is one compound gear, another compound gear. Here on the compound gear, here two gears are there. Here another compound gear is there. Three gears are there. Three, right? So very complicated one. You see that it's animation. Okay, 1 minute. Some problem. Some problem. You see that is the animation of the compound gear train. This chapter is very simple, and sometimes some simple numerical problems will appear. So this is the compound gear. It's a single piece. This is one gear. This is another gear mounted on the same shaft. This is for your reference only. I included. Okay, this is the end of the slideshow and introduction to gear trains already I introduced. Tomorrow I come up with some numerical examples, and